Alright, folks, buckle up because this one's a wild ride. Jannik Sinner's lawyer has finally lifted the curtain on how they pulled off a deal that prevented the young Italian from getting absolutely wrecked with a longer suspension. Apparently, the offer on the table was just too damn good to pass up. So, here's the breakdown. February 9th officially kicked off Sinner's ban, and the dude will be out of action until May 4th. That means he's gonna miss some major tournaments: Indian Wells, Miami, Monte Carlo, and Madrid. Ouch. But here's the silver lining. He'll be back just in time for the Rome Masters 1000, which, let's be real, is the perfect warm-up before Roland Garros. Now, what's really shocking about this whole mess? The speed at which it all went down. Sinner was originally scheduled to appear in front of a tribunal in April, where they would determine his fate after testing positive not once, but twice, in an anti-doping test. However, before that courtroom drama could even unfold, his legal team pulled a fast one and struck a deal with W. But wait, here's where it gets spicy. His lawyer just revealed some juicy details that are stirring up even more controversy. Turns out, Sinner almost told them to shove the deal up their ass. He was ready to fight it. But his team, knowing damn well that W was pushing for a one-year suspension, convinced him that accepting a 3-month ban was the smartest move. And honestly, they weren't wrong. This way, he dodged missing the entire freaking season. Djokovic is pissed. And he's not alone. Now, not everyone is thrilled about how this all played out. Leading the charge? None other than Novak fucking Djokovic. The Serbian superstar is calling bullshit on how the case was handled. According to him, the locker room is not happy, and plenty of players feel like CER got special treatment. Most of the guys don't think this was fair. There's a sense of favoritism here, Djokovic said, practically throwing shade like he was at Wimbledon on a cloudy day. He's hinting, pretty damn strongly, that Sinner's golden boy status as one of the sport's rising stars may have had something to do with the leniency. And, let's be real, this isn't the first time the tennis tour has been accused of handing out unequal punishments. We've seen it before, lower-ranked players getting absolutely hammered with bans, while bigger names seem to get the equivalent of a slap on the wrist. Coincidence? Hey, you tell me. What's next for Sinner? Even with the suspension in effect, the Italian isn't just sitting around eating pasta and sulking. He's still training, though he's banned from using official tour facilities. His return in Rome is going to be a massive moment, not just to see if he's in top shape, but also to gauge whether the whole drama has messed with his head. And of course, the big burning question remains. Was this fair? If he wasn't a top-tier player, would he have gotten the same deal? Drop your hot takes in the comments because this debate is far from over. Unexpected support. Nadal steps in. Just when it looked like the whole tennis world was out for Sinner's blood, in comes Toni Nadal, with a plot twist. During the Mallorca Open, Rafa's uncle made it crystal clear that he's not on board with the ban. In his eyes, the punishment is straight-up bullshit. You can't treat someone like this for a mistake that was accidental, Nadal Sr. argued. You should go after the ones who dope on purpose to gain an unfair advantage. Sinner is not one of them. And then, because this drama needed another layer, Toni decided to throw some shade at other players who have been vocal critics of Sinner. I find it surprising that certain players are speaking out against him. Some of them are not exactly the cleanest either, he said with a smirk. Holy shit. Shots fired. Now, the million-dollar question. Who the hell was he talking about? Del Potro joins the debate, and he's not buying it. As if this saga wasn't already insane enough, Juan Martín del Potro, yes, that Del Potro, has now chimed in, and let's just say he's not exactly giving the ATP a standing ovation. Everybody's lost credibility, the ATP, the anti-doping authorities, and even Sinner's image has taken a hit, the Argentine said. Nobody won anything here. The whole situation is just weird. And honestly, he's got a point. Why was this handled so fast? Why was the punishment so light? Would a lower-ranked player have been treated the same way, or would they have been tossed aside like a used towel in the locker room? This case has left us with way more questions than answers. So, let's hear it. What do you think? Fair, unfair, or just another example of how tennis picks and chooses who gets screwed? Alright, folks, grab your popcorn because this discussion is hotter than a Wimbledon final under the scorching summer sun. The tennis world is divided as hell over whether Jannik Sinner got off easy or if this was simply a fair resolution. On one side, we've got Novak Djokovic, Nick Kyrgios, and Juan Martín del Potro basically calling BS on the whole thing, claiming the Italian was handed a VIP pass through the justice system. On the other hand, Toni Nadal is leading the charge in Sinner's defense, arguing that it was nothing more than an unfortunate mistake and that the punishment was already harsh enough. But let's be real, the biggest takeaway here? Sinner will be back in action in May, just in time for the clay court swing, without missing a single Grand Slam. That's right. While the suspension stings, it's strategically placed so that he won't have to sit out the season's most important events. But while he'll be swinging his racket soon enough, the stain on his reputation, well, that's gonna take a bit longer to scrub off. Jannik Sinner breaks his silence. With a snowy surprise? It's been 9 days since Sinner agreed to the 3-month suspension that's keeping him off the courts until May 4th, and while he's been MIA from press conferences and social media, his first public sighting post-ban has got people talking. And no, he didn't reappear with a dramatic statement or a teary apology. Instead, he popped up on the slopes. Yep, Sinner was spotted skiing in the mountains of Tro, his hometown, looking as chill as ever. A young fan snapped a picture with him and shared it on Instagram, and, just like that, Sinner was back in the public eye. But wait, there's more. The very next day, another photo surfaced. This time, he was spotted casually playing golf. And if you think this is just some random coincidence, think again. For those who don't know, Sinner's connection to skiing is deep. Born and raised in Tro, Italy, he was actually a national cross-country skiing champion from ages 8 to 12. At one point, it seemed like his destiny was carved into the snowy Alps, not on a tennis court. But at 13 years old, he made a life-changing decision. Tennis over skiing. Why? I picked tennis because I love to play. In skiing, everything happens in just a minute and a half downhill. If you make a mistake, it's over. In tennis, you can screw up a few times and still win. That's why I chose it, Sinner explained in a 2021 interview. Now, as the tennis world explodes with debates over his suspension, the Italian seems to be finding solace in his first love, skiing. Whether it's a form of escapism or just his way of clearing his mind, one thing's for sure, Sinner isn't sitting around sulking. A controversial ban, fair, or just a gentle slap on the wrist? Ever since his suspension was announced, public opinion has been wildly split. The whole mess started with Sinner testing positive for Class All at the 2024 Indian Wells tournament. But here's where things get tricky. W accepted that it was due to accidental contamination. Despite this, Sinner still reluctantly agreed to a 3-month ban, even though he initially wanted to fight it. His lawyer, Jannik Sinner, spilled some crucial details about how this deal with W came together. From day one, Jannik never questioned the science, the test, or the rules. He took responsibility for what was in his body, even though it was just a trace. But deep down, he knows he did absolutely nothing wrong. He followed the process by the book, so honestly, I think he's at peace with himself. But let's be real, that doesn't mean everyone is buying this neatly wrapped explanation. Some players have been slapped with way harsher penalties in the past for similar situations, which raises the biggest question in this entire saga. Did Sinner get a soft landing just because he's a rising star? The timing of his comeback isn't helping either. He'll be back just in time for the biggest clay tournaments, including the Masters 1000 in Rome and, of course, the French Open at Roland Garros. And that really isn't sitting well with critics like Djokovic and Kyrgios, who have openly called out the system for what they believe is clear favoritism. So, what do you think? Was this a fair punishment? Or is this just another case of the sport protecting its golden boys? Let me know in the comments because this drama isn't dying down anytime soon. If there's one thing that has set the tennis world on fire lately, it's whether Jannik Sinner got off easy or not. And let me tell you, opinions are flying faster than a Novak Djokovic return. Most players, they're not buying the whole fair punishment narrative. Djokovic himself didn't hold back, bluntly stating, "It looks like you can influence the outcome if you're a top player." Translation: if you've got enough clout, you get a get-out-of-jail-free card. But if you thought that was harsh, Juan Martín del Potro took it up a notch, delivering what can only be described as a verbal KO. Everyone has lost credibility. The ATP, the anti-doping authorities, and even Sinner's reputation. I don't think anyone has won in this case. The whole situation is just weird. And honestly, he's got a point. Meanwhile, the fans are just as divided as the locker room. One half is screaming, This punishment is a joke. While the other half is yelling, he shouldn't have been punished at all. Toni Nadal and Jimmy Connors stand firm. Sinner deserved better. But don't get it twisted. Sinner isn't standing alone in the middle of this storm. Some big names in tennis have come out swinging in his defense. One of the most vocal, Toni Nadal. During the Mallorca Open presentation, Rafa's uncle and former coach made it very clear that he thinks the ban is bullshit. I'm against this suspension. I know Jannik personally, and I can say with confidence, he had no intention of cheating. And then there's Jimmy Connors, an all-time great who's never been afraid to speak his mind. The man believes the sport is losing more by sidelining Sinner than it is gaining from upholding the rules. Tennis is just better with Sinner in it. He's been dominating and playing thrilling tennis for the last 18 months. It's a damn shame his achievements are now overshadowed by this nonsense. So while some are pointing fingers and crying favoritism, others are saying the real tragedy here is keeping one of the most electrifying players off the court. What's next for Sinner? The May comeback everyone's waiting for. Despite the drama, one thing is certain. Sinner's return in May will be one of the most highly anticipated moments of the tennis season. After months of speculation, backlash, and intense debates, all eyes will be glued to him when he steps back onto the court. His first real test? The Rome Masters 1000. This will be his chance to show that he's still a force to be reckoned with before heading to the French Open. But let's be real, it's not just about his fitness. The psychological pressure is going to be brutal. How will he handle the relentless media scrutiny? How will he respond to the side eye from his fellow players? More importantly, how many of his peers still respect him after this whole ordeal? This situation isn't just about tennis anymore, it's about his reputation, his future, and whether he can navigate the messy politics of the locker room. And here's where you come in. Was Sinner's punishment too lenient, or was it fair? Will this scandal haunt his career, or will he brush it off like a pro? And let's be real, if this were a less famous player, would the outcome have been different? Drop your thoughts in the comments because this debate is far from over. And let me tell you, this Sinner saga? It's just getting started. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to subscribe to Tennyson and turn on notifications so you never miss the latest drama in the tennis world. Smash that like button and share this video if you want more deep dives into the Sinner controversy and other hot tennis stories. See you in the next video. Until next time, stay tuned.